All right, Travis. I've been asking everybody to give me their pre going to watch the new Star Wars movie. Um, what is it, Last Jedi? Give me what
Yeah.
you think the movie is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10 before you go see it. And then after the fact, I will ask you what your actual score from 1 to 10 is.
You know, I'm hoping I'm hoping it's going to be like a 7.
Okay, so you feel like it's going to be worse than that?
For some reason, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying a 7. And your over under would be under, right? Like if you
Yeah.
were going to put a bet on it, you would say under. Okay. I put it at a 5.5,
Okay.
and I'm going to say over because I think it's going to land at a 6. But I'm expecting it from like the little bit of stuff that I've seen. I expect it to be not great. At least that was my answer last week. This week, however, Twitter has just been blowing up with people who've got to see it early,
Yep.
and they have said it is phenomenal. So I don't know if I want to get my hopes up or not. I feel like this mindset for me in particular is really interesting. We talked about Justice League already, right? Like where we had our expectations. I expected it to be absolutely terrible. It was infinitely better than what I expected it to be. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Even though I don't think it was a great movie, I figure it's probably like a 5 or a 6. Probably not a 6, probably a 5. Like it's average. And I expect this movie to be average, but I have higher hopes. I hope it's going to be good. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to me to have this conversation. Favorite Star Wars movie? Go.
2, Attack of the Clones.
Interesting. Interesting.
Like, so the reason it's Attack of the Clones is because up for there to be a really climactic third movie. But then, the third movie happened and episode 2 just kind of was like, well, I mean, I was good.
So I would say in the dark, Empire Strikes Back, right, is probably the best one in my opinion. But I really like 1 through 3. Like I've talked about this before probably, but I love it when villains win.
Yeah.
Like that feels the most realistic to me. So when a villain goes in, does a great job, doesn't screw up like they always do. Like to me, when a villain loses, it's because he screwed up generally,
Right.
not because the hero did a good job. At least in the movies, right? Um, we look at some of my favorite superhero movies. Iron Man. Why did Stain lose? Not because he didn't plan ahead, not that he wasn't ready. It's just he made a stupid mistake. He chased Tony Stark into high enough where his boots froze over and lost. Right? Like, yes, it was a good plan on Tony's part, but it wasn't like a terrible plan on Obadiah's part. Obadiah didn't put in a freaking parachute. Like, come on, guys, poor planning here, right? So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of that, but the end of 3 didn't feel that way to me. It felt like the bad guys did everything right. Like boom, 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 boom. The only part that was kind of bad about 3 was the Vader no.
Yeah.
That was it. Otherwise, that movie was good.
I will say that had some of the best lightsaber fights.
Oh man, it was insane. That I remember sitting in the stands and the Yoda fight. People were like practically standing in their chairs, screaming how awesome it was. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like the first three. Clearly, Empire Strikes Back is the best one, but I don't know. That being said, I'm curious what people think. I'm curious where the expectations are. Are people like, oh, it's gonna be insanely good. It's gonna be like this 9.5, 10 out of 10 movie, like the perfect movie, the perfect storm. And when people come back and they're like, yeah, it was a 7. I want to be like, well, what got you so motivated to score this highly? But you know what? This isn't a movie podcast. It's a magic podcast. This is Two Trolls and a Brew. I'm Samus. He's Travis. Welcome to episode. Did you change the episode number? Is this right?
Yes.
This is episode 110.
Yes.
And you have called the title of the show Unstable.
Yes.
And subtitle all the drafts.
Did I do that?
I assume.
Sure.
I'm a fan of when Travis does show notes. I'm a fan. I never know if he actually did all this stuff.
Was I responsible? Who knows?
Oh. Troll cards of the week: Steamflogger, Boss, and Altered Ego. Go.
Okay, so the second draft that I did, I sent you the picture.
You did.
With the 2 Urzas. Yeah, that was a fun draft. So I got 2 Urzas. And also someone's car alarm's going off. And so anyways, I got the 2 Urzas, and then in pack 3, I got the Steamflogger Boss. And I'm like, well, I guess this is better than a land. I'm just going to mute myself. You talk about your thing.
Okay. Well, how about I talk about my my experience with the unstable draft. We did an unstable draft. I only played one. I dislike things where the only value is like the land in the pack. I dislike that. But I actually had a lot of fun playing with people that I knew. To me, this draft format in particular is a draft format where playing with people that you know makes it fun. So, like, I played with Jackie and Kyler and my son and some people that I know but not as well. And I played against these other people that I don't know as well, and I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was fun playing with them. But then when I played against Kyler, I had a lot of fun. Turns out I cheated him a lot. I misread my card. I inverted some words. As I did, Travis is making a face like, oh, I'm gonna put him up on the screen for a second. Do that all stuff again. So I accidentally inverted some cards. And I gave him the card to read. I'm like, well, it does this. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, no, here. And I gave him the card, and he read it, and he gave it back to me and said, okay. So basically, I cheated him. Not gonna lie. And we figured it out after he scooped. He's like, he scooped, and he's like, let me read that card again. And he did. He's like, that's not how that card works at all. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. And then I played Jackie, and we had a lot of fun. Like, we had decks that like went back and forth and actually did things. But I like a lot of aspects. Like, I'm really surprised by how much of the stuff I actually liked about Unstable. The contraptions stuff I thought was kind of fun. Involved some pre-planning. And yeah, like, it was enjoyable. A lot of the other stuff, though, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think now that your car alarm is fixed?
alarm. Anyways, no, I really enjoyed drafting. Like all three times that I did was super fun. Like I played three different archetypes in three drafts. And like first draft, I knew two of the people that showed up because everyone else had their like, work or some other stupid stuff. Um, the second draft, we actually went to my buddy's house and we just, eight of us drafted. We just had fun. That was it. And the third draft, we basically were like, look, no matter what you open, if you open a land, you're going to get your money's worth.
Well, that's just it. I think that because where I am right now with how like I get paid and how my collection grows and essentially what the value is for me of my paycheck, if I don't get value out of these cards, then I lost money. Like it doesn't. I just don't play Magic to have fun right now. I play Magic to increase my net value. So when I trade things in or sell them or whatever, I get that profit in there. So in my brain, wasting my draft on 3 basic lands, or in my case, 6 basic lands because my son's drafting too, usually. Like, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense unless I'm getting like 10 out of 10 amount of fun. Like if I'm not maxing out my fun. So like for me, the most fun I could get out of an unset would be probably a cube. Like I think it'd be a really awesome cubed deck. But it would involve like
we're already moving it up.
Yeah, well that's just it. And that's why I put all of my uncommons up for people to take. And then I kept the rares, and I've let everybody know now that if anyone decides that they're going to cube them out, the rares are theirs. Right? Like, because I have zero interest. These cards are worth nothing, essentially, to me, except for the lands. So, whatever. But, like, if I'm going to have a great time, like, I'm tempted to get a box and sit on it for, like, when you come visit again, or Christmas with the guys if they want to draft. Like that's what it's for me. It's the same thing as conspiracy, right? Grab it, put it aside for hanging out with the guys, having some drinks or gals, whatever, and getting the fun out of it. But for me, going to the local card shop and playing with like 4 people I'd consider friends and 4 people I consider acquaintances, and everyone wants to win. Like everyone's competitive. Like that's not what I want out of a fun set, like this. I just want to go and have a good time. Also it's probably like I didn't read any of the preview or any of the cards. I knew nothing about it. I didn't understand the mechanic of cranking the contraptions or any of that stuff when I drafted. I just like went, okay, well, I'm going to play to win like I would any other draft. I'm going to take these black removal spells and these aggressive curved black cards, and I'm going to pick up a couple of these green things, and that happen to say, like I picked up a couple of the three mana 1/1s with Death Touch that they don't crank. They make a contraption, whatever that's called. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got a couple of these things, so I'll grab a couple of contraptions. Maybe I'll figure out how it works. And then I picked up like a bunch of those rats that were the split cards, which was a cool mechanic. And then I picked up like Steam Power, which is just insanity. Like spend 5 mana and make somebody discard a card. Like that's what actually won the game against Kyler. Not my rampant cheating. But I was like, oh man. So Zombified, right? It's a front half, or it's part of that thing. It's not the host, it's the other part. And when I read it in my mind, it was 5 mana. Put pull a card out from your graveyard and zombify it. Right? Was how I read it. Um, what it turns out it does is it zombified lives in your graveyard, and you can zombify a creature. Like it's got to be in the graveyard, and then you can zombify a living creature. So like
Right.
I just completely misread it, right? Um, so yeah, not as good when you're not regrowing creatures out of your graveyard. But yeah, no, I steam powered a rat, the discard rat, and I was just like, hey, during your draw phase, before you move on, discard a card unless you know it's an instant. And
Yeah.
that was just all right. With this game's over.
All right. So, with the reason Steam Flogger is my troll card is because I figured out that you can have as many contraptions on each sprocket or whatever, and through the entire deck, I was just grabbing all of the. I was grabbing different things that makes that assemble contraptions,
Right.
and then I ended up grabbing the Steam Flogger boss, and he says other riggers get +1 and haste, and if it would assemble a contraption, assemble 2 instead. Well, my contraptions were all either target player loses 2 life or I make a 2/2 menacing. So one of the games, I dropped the boss on turn 4. Turn 5, I dropped that 2/3 with menace that whenever it deals damage, assembles a contraption.
Okay.
So it attacks for 3, and then it makes 2 things. Next turn, I drop another one, swing in again, and then like the turn after that, the person I was playing, he had the dude that goes and gets a banned card that you own outside of the game, like
Okay. I
a
didn't
card that
see
was
that. But okay.
yeah, it's great. So he ends up getting a Primeval Titan, and he puts it into play, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's terrifying. Yeah, that's a thing.
I didn't remember Primeval Titan being banned anywhere, but I don't know.
It was for a little bit in Modern.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it still is.
No,
No, or,
because
I think it was banned in Commander too.
okay, that'd make more sense
But
probably.
but yeah, then like the next turn, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna swing with my 3 dudes with menace and my steam flogger boss, and he's like, oh wait, no, that's exactly lethal. No matter how I block it, he's like, I'm either taking 9 from these two, or it was some crazy math. But no, steam flogger boss is busted if you can get it.
So I don't know. What did you feel about, or did you like the contraption mechanic?
After I figured it out, yes.
I feel the same way. Like they tried describing it 2 or 3 times, and I just didn't. It didn't click on me when we were trying to draft.
Right.
Um, but like I opened a rare one, so I took it. Like I think I got BB gun or something. So I took it, and then there was another one that was like make 2/1/1s. Like this seems
Mm-hmm.
good, you know. There's one that gave a creature evasion, so I took that. So I ended up with like 4, I think, is what I think I drafted 6, but I only put 4 of them in my contraption deck because I only had 4 cards that said make a contraption or something.
Right.
So I figured there's no sense in diluting that deck any more than I need to.
So my third draft is actually when my whole contraption thing just like kicked off and went into overdrive of this is how this is working.
Okay.
Like it just finally like clicked. But I had 2 division table contraptions, which that's when it's cranked to it. Target player loses 2 life. 2 boom flinger. That's one where you roll 2d6 and they take the difference in damage.
Okay. People kept
And
asking me
then
what happens if you roll 3d6. What's the difference? And I'm just like, subtract them all.
no. Okay, so like say you roll a 6 and a 3. for the when it cranks to it. They take 3.
Right.
But if you have Crack's other thumb, you would roll 4d6. And like you just take out like the ones that you don't want.
So I didn't the scenario didn't come up. They were just asking me what would happen. They're like, so what would it be like if you had to divide 3d6 or to find the difference of 3d6? I'm just like, you subtract them all. Like that would be the difference between 3d6. And they're like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. But again, Jackie was there, and Jackie had already judged the set a couple of times. So I was just like, Jackie's the judge for this. Like, I'm not dealing with this S on my first time. So,
and then the other one that I got was the contraption that when you crank to it, it assembles a contraption.
Right. I saw that one.
If you ever draft this again, take that.
No, I mean people played it against me. I didn't
Yeah.
see it draft or go by or whatever.
But yeah, that third deck that I played was just green red, and I took 5 wrench riggers. It's a 1-drop, 1/1 goblin rigger that when it enters, you assemble a contraption.
Okay.
So on like turn 2, I could have turn 1 I can have 1 contraption. Turn 2 I can have up to 4 contraptions in play. It's just constantly rotating. It was so sick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I really like the idea of the contraption deck. I wouldn't be opposed to them trying that, like in standard. I think you gotta probably tone them down a little bit and make some changes, but a lot of them didn't feel bad to me.
Right.
Like they seemed fine. Like the +1/+1 in flying and also a creature's an artifact. Like that seemed totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
The target creature gets pay 2 mana, it fights another creature. Seems fine. Even the make the 2/1/1s seems fine. Some of the ones that I thought was a little crazy. Basically, you looked at your top number of cards equal to the number of artifacts you had in play, and put one of those cards in your hand.
Yeah.
And then put the rest in the bottom. Like that seemed pretty bonkers.
Yeah, that one was pretty busted.
There was another one, another rare mythic one. I don't know, maybe something, and it just wrecked me. Like it was just completely balmy, and I can't remember. I think maybe it gave a creature, if it deals combat damage, draws a card. Like that seems really strong, but maybe not like broken strong. But there was another one that was just absolutely insane. And then, like I said,
yeah, that one was a filter.
Yeah, and then like you said, the one that lets you assemble another contraption, that one was completely broken. So yeah, people who knew what they were doing, just I went crazy. The best deck that I saw so far was like green white, like kind of like an aggro, and then they really took advantage of the white front sides. So they had like Hummingbird did a lot of work, give a creature flying. Kitten, I think, did a lot of work.
The adorable kitten.
The adorable kitten did a ton of work. And then there was a green white rare, I think, or maybe it's a mythic that lets you tutor for like either half on your turn or something. Like there's a trigger for, I don't know. That card was insane. So like that was the best deck I saw, and I'm just like this standardy type, like you're not going to have any cards in your hand. All my dudes have death touch. I have like 4 removal spells. I have medium-sized creatures, and it was just like these sick little combos just like came out of nowhere and just wrecked me. Like, oh, you just gained 7 life out of nowhere. Like, okay, sweet. I guess I'll just get back to chipping in for 2 each turn. And you're just like, oh, I'll equip this, and whenever it hits you, now I'll roll this die and go again. It's like, oh, rumble. Oh, whenever I roll a 5 on a d6, my creature becomes insane for the turn. Take 80. Like, oh, sweet. Thanks. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that I thought was kind of not in my cup of tea. Like it was too far outside of the realm of planning. Like it was just total luck-based kind of things. But a lot of the cards I thought were totally sweet. Like completely fair, made a lot of sense. And could go into a proper Magic set if they built towards that.
Right.
So, I don't know. If they were to not make all these things gray border so they could be played, like just have some of them like randomly be like, hey, this one you can play in a tournament. Like, what? Like, that'd be sweet. Also, the tokens. Like the black border tokens, so you flip it over and you have the full art token on the other side. Very cool. That was very cool. So I'm not saying there's no value in the set, but it's so much less than just like. So okay, Friday Night Magic this week. I don't remember. I think it was Ixalan draft, and I draft like the most fair pirate deck ever. Like I get the Grand Admiral. I get like the 2/2 haste that makes a token or makes the thing. Like I have like 3 rare pirates or better. I have like all the removal spells. I have the perfect curve of pirates. Like my deck is right. I don't have it down here, but it was bonkers. So I 4-0 the draft, no problem. And instead of taking home like 9 packs of Ixalan, I instead get 2 packs of the what's the new superset? Iconic Masters.
Yeah.
Crack those, get a Cryptic Command and some other like $5 card. I'm just like, this is just so much better than instead opening. Like I could have turned them in for unstable, and that's in hindsight I probably should have for Christmas gifts. And gotten what? They're $4 a land right now.
Yeah.
So like instead I could have gotten just under $40 worth of lands and basically thrown the rest of the cards away.
Yep.
So I mean I hate that. I don't know. The lands are very pretty though.
The lands are really, really well done.
I do like borders. Like to me, it makes a lot. It feels good.
I don't.
Or the complete art, like everything's art. That feels good. Like I know this is a mountain. You don't have to put the word mountain on it.
They do for tournament play.
Well, that's just it, right? Like figure out some other way to put it, or change the rule for this particular ones or something. I don't know. I said I think they could have figured out some other way to do it to make them look even sweeter, but whatever. Shall we talk about real Magic now?
Sure.
In my troll card. So I've been working on a new Frontier deck for I don't know, a little more than a week, and I sent you the first version of it. And it is a Yisan / core based deck. And a couple of times now, I've done some really interesting things with altered egos. So like there's a situation where I was playing against Remington and he's playing a Collected Company 3 deck, a banned Collected Company list. So I try to play something. He goes to Spell Queller it. My Yisan's on 3. I tap Yisan, go to 4. tutor up an altered ego, hit his spell queller that he already played the previous turn to hit like my Tameo, spell queller his spell queller, keep my thing around. He's like, huh? So then a few turns later, I yeast on 5 to go get Advison, right? Put her in play. So now I've stabilized the board a little bit. He did something. I made a bunch of blocks. Go get Avison, keep my dudes alive, eat a bunch of his like massive creatures. Because I think at this point he probably had like 2 tireless trackers and just went on me.
Yeah.
God, Renegade Rallier plus fetch lands are so good. Just absolutely bonkers. Anyway,
why do you think it's played in Modern?
Oh, it's so good. Super good. So like I trick him. He collected companies at some point, bounces my ego to get his spell queller back to counter one of my spells, which was fine. So now my hand is ego and the spirit that you could sacrifice to make all your creatures indestructible. So a couple of turns go by. I play the spirit, selfless spirit. Yeah, selfless spirit.
Yeah.
Play the ego, make a copy of the selfless spirit, sacrifice the ego at the end of my turn to trigger Advison. Right? Most of his creatures are X3s at this point. The ones that are not, I've tapped down with Tameo's -2 ability. Crack the original Selfless Spirit with the Avison trigger on the stack to keep all my creatures alive and essentially wipe his board and attack for like a bazillion.
Okay.
All because of tricky stuff that you can do with Altered Ego. There's a moment today where I'm trying to remember exactly what card came down, but there was a situation where I was able to... I hard cast from my hand a Hornet Queen, which is, in my mind, like the best 7-drop that you can play in Frontier, right? For the most part. So I Hornet Queen.
That's in...
Yeah, it was in Origins.
Was that in... Hornet Queen was in Origins?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Hornet Queen. The 2/2 for 7 that makes 4 Hornets with Death Touch.
Huh.
Right? So then I take Yisan, make a tutor up the Altered Ego, make another Hornet Queen, and the game is basically over at that point.
Are you sure it was in Origins?
Let's check. The answer is pretty sure. Hornet Queen. M15, sorry, M15.
Okay.
But yes, it is Frontier legal. My bad. It was an M15. The best of the core sets. So I want to talk a little bit about this Frontier deck in a little bit more details. I sent the list to Travis, or a list to Travis, and I will get an updated picture for everybody else for the show notes, assuming I remember. But I currently am running 4 Elvish Mystics, a Kytheon, and a Renegade, the 1/2 Death Toucher as 1-drops.
The green dude.
The green dude, yeah. Like he's got Revolt. He gets +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
But I'm first question. I'm thinking about changing one of the Elvish Mystics into a Honored Hierarch, which is he has to become renowned before he can tap for mana.
Mm-hmm.
But when he does become renowned, he has vigilance and he taps for any color mana. With the idea that I have more than just Kithion and the Death Toucher to tutor up with Yisan on 1. Okay, so I'm kicking that idea around. I'd like to get your input after you think about it a little bit. Then for 2s, I have 1 Din Protector, which I'd never tutor up in a million years, right? 1 Jace Viren's Prodigy, 1 Selfless Spirit, 1 Phyrexian Revoker, which is the all-star of this deck so far, because my bloody kid drops Smuggler's Copters on 2s like they're made of freaking water, like he's got 12 of them in his deck.
It does sound like Remy.
Yeah, and 1 River Hoopty as my 2s. For 3s, I have a Tireless Tracker, a Deathmist Raptor, a Spell Queller, a Pride Sovereign, a Flip Nissa, and a the Elf Disenchant. I can never think of his name.
Reclamation Sage.
Rex Sage. Yes, thank you. And a Rex Sage. And then for 4 drops, I've changed it a little bit since I sent this picture to you, but it's Altered Ego, Glissa the Broken Blade, a Teamer Sabertooth, which is the guy who puts guys back in your hand.
Right.
Maybe Surok stays, maybe he goes. I'm unsure still.
The 4-drop?
Yeah, the 4-drop. For 5 drops, I'm running an Avacyn and a Green Gearhulk. I had Whisper Elemental in, but I never, every time I try to tutor 5, I've never wanted to do that. Like, I think it probably is good in the sideboard. Because there's probably matches where I want to bring it in, but I'm not sure. I currently have a Woodland Bellower, which is actually my second question for you as a 6-drop. Like, what's the best?
Love that card.
What's the best 6-drop? The Woodland Bellower or the Green Warden of Marasa?
Main board, definitely the Bellower.
Okay.
Because side, if you need answers for whatever, like you need to bring stuff back that they have answers for, then that.
The Green Warden. So I was playing a game with Remy, and basically if I had a Green Warden in my deck, I would have won. Because like at any time you can Green Warden back a cord, you basically win the game. Where Woodland Bellower doesn't do that. Also, Woodland Bellower doesn't get Jace. But it does get Nissa. So I'm not sure.
No, it doesn't.
It should get a Nissa.
No, it gets a non-legendary.
Oh, it is non-legendary. No, so this card is bad. Oh no, I have to continue thinking about it. The Pride, going and getting Pride Sovereign, though, is still pretty good. And then, of course, 7s, I have the Hornet Queen and the Brewhilda, Fading Light. The other half of Glissa.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is. So far, MVPs have been Hornet Queen and, surprisingly, Kithion. This is a really good card. Within the Yisan shell. Right? So Yisan, spend 3 mana, tap, go tutor up something equal to the number of times that you tapped it before. If you can flip over Kithion into that Gideon, his +1 ability is untap a creature and make it indestructible for the turn.
Yeah.
So the one thing that you have trouble with on Yisan is keeping it alive and activating it quick enough that you get all your value out of it. This he does both. So he's a great thing to get on one. If you can get him and like two other trash creatures to attack, then you have the ability to flip him over. And then once he flips over, he makes a Yisan just a terror. Also, he works great with Pride Sovereign. Um, so yeah, I've been really surprised by him in general. For those of you just to round out the rest of the deck, there's 2 4-mana Kioras, Master of the Depths. So her +1, I think, or maybe it's +2. Untaps a creature, untaps a land. The minus ability lets you like look for the top 4 and put a creature and a land into your hand. And then if you manage to alt, you just win the game slowly by making 8/8s forever. And then 2 Tamios, which is a lot of fun. And then 2 of the Growing Rights. I can't even remember what it's called, but it flips over into Gaia's Cradle, which apparently is
Yeah.
so scary that Remington won't let me resolve one.
I mean, when you're playing a bunch of green stuff and you have a cord, I wouldn't either.
So yeah, I don't know. It's been a lot of fun. My current idea of sideboard is like probably 4 Dramica's commands and like 2 like heroic interventions, and then just like 9 other situationally good cards to sideboard in. Like the wooded 5-drop we just talked about, a Gaia's Revenge if I ever want to sideboard out the Angel package, stuff like that. Maybe the other clone, the clone that you can buy back out of your graveyard, whatever the other 6-drop is, etc. The 2 scavengers, the Scavenging Ooze and the Death something scavenger. I forget what it's called. But just kind of like things I think that are situationally going to be a problem. But I have to say, I really am enjoying the format in general and would like to continue kind of fiddling with it. I don't know. I hope it takes off. I hope it's a format that everyone loves eventually.
Hasn't been here.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle. I have like 4 people who are so into standard that they take dumps on all the other formats. And then basically because I want to play in this format where the card pool is a little bit smaller, but yet still big enough that I feel like I can brew really easily, as opposed to modern where it's so large that I get lost in the card pool. Then I have the group of people who are like, yeah, but modern's just where you want to be instead. Like you can do all this same stuff but better. I'm just like, yeah, but I get so lost that I feel like I'm only looking at 1 or 2% of the card pool, and I can't build the best deck because my brain can't handle that many cards when I'm trying to brew. So I don't know. I'm really, really warming up to the format.
I will tell you this, and I know Remy's going to like what I have to say. Right now, Mill is a really strong deck in modern.
I heard Mill is a really strong
deck in modern.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so like the top decks right now are Titan Shift, Tron, like the different Tron variants. I'm only counting that as one. Elves, Fish, and Burn. So the weakest match is against the Tron decks, which that's kind of easy to remedy in the side. Um, but against Fish, so Fish and Elves, they have really high creature counts, and they search their deck. So, like, take out some of their cards into the yard and everything. You crypt incursion, and then like all the work that they just did, you just negated all of it.
Sure.
Um, the Titan Shift decks, they take so long to build up, and if you have like you have a really good matchup, even game one, and like game two, it just gets that much better because surgical extraction comes in the board. So it's like, uh, I think I was playing against two different players, so that way, they, handled the or the escape shift list differently. And I think I lost 2 games out of 10.
I mean, that's a pretty reasonable rate. I don't know. Like I said, again, I don't know. Even GP Oklahoma, like we had a couple of guys go to GP Oklahoma and have a blast. They had a great time, but I just like the modern. I just can't. I don't know. I have a hard time getting into it. Um, even the deck that I thought was attacking from a unique angle, that intruder alarm list that I was working on, and I felt like I had great matchups against everyone when I was playtesting, but then I sat down at tournaments and the deck just misfired. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I'm done with this. Like even that deck, I was just shaking my head in disapproval. Or like Saheeli Cord, which is a deck that I should love. Like I love Saheeli combo. I love Cord based decks. But it's the same thing. It just felt like it constantly misfires. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I need to find the right deck. Maybe I need to something. I'm not sure. But for me right now,
Play
modern's just
Affinity.
not the thing. I would consider it, except I don't feel like I'm skilled enough to play Affinity.
You drop 4 cards on turn one.
You
Hope
know,
they
and
don't have a Pyroclasm.
a lot of people a lot of people say stuff like that, but I think Affinity players get a lot of crap because their deck Affinity is a much more difficult deck to play, um, especially games 2 and 3. Like, yeah, game 1 should be fine. In games 2 and 3, like you're trying to figure out how to dodge whatever hate they brought in. But like there's a lot of strategies like, okay, do I go in here? Do I not? Like I don't want to get baited into going all in on something and then they just have a second removal spell instead or something crazy. Like, oh, I'll lightning bolt your Ravager. Like, okay, well, I'll sacrifice these things to get my Ravager big enough to live through the lightning bolt. And then you're like, oh, fatal
A Braid.
push or braid or whatever. And they're just like, oh, sweet. Well, all my creatures that I sacrificed to Ravager, now I have no place to put the Ravager tokens. Or even worse, you wake
Yeah.
up your Blink Moth with your Blink Moth thing, and they fatal push that one too.
No. See, the fun thing to do with the Blink Moth is when they activate 2 of them, team, and you're just like, oh, Hercules Recall.
Or that. I said there's enough hate for Affinity that I don't think I could play it. I'm more likely to switch to a Burn. Like again, I feel Burn is a much more skill intensive game 2 and 3 to play at the best level. But at least that feels like there's something. Like there are going to be matches where you don't have to think that hard, and you just win the match. Or there's going to be matches where you're just like, oh well, this is an auto loss unless I happen to get super lucky, and you don't have to think that hard. The problem
Yeah.
is that you have all these other ones that turn into like 60% of the meta where Like you got to play things exactly right to get there, and if you do, you're rewarded. Like I'm really tempted to build a Tron deck now because I feel like the Tron stuff is just so easy. Like, oh, what do? I figure out how to get to my mana, and I just cast overpowered crazy spells.
Mm-hmm.
One of them will eventually stick.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, like I said, even in sideboard, Tron it's all right for me. Because if I hit one of the Tron lands off of mill, then I can surgical it. I even bring in Crumble to Dust in the side, just so I can surgical and like just make them shut down their land base. And it just, instead of like, oh, here's a turn 3, it's more like, all right, you have 8 turns. Good luck.
right. And it does make it harder. Like I'm not saying it's not necessarily a good matchup for you, but I'm just saying in the dark, right? You're running like here's one of the lists from Seth Manfield's list. 4 Karns, 2 Ugins, an Ulamog, 1 Walking Ballista, 1 World Breaker, 3 Wormcorn Engines. Like these are all just like insanely good Magic cards, right? An Ancient Stirring, Sylvan Scrying, Fatal Push, boom, 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 boom. Like bring it. 3 Relics of Progenesis. Like, okay, you're gonna try to surgical my thing. I'm gonna get rid of a thing in response and kill it. I don't think any of those are split second, right? No. So like I just keep my relic up and then I make myself move a card out of the graveyard. Now look, oh. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of play there. Again, it's just a matter of what's up. Let me look at another one of these Tron lists. There's another one I thought, right? There's at least 2 in the top 8.
Yeah.
Mono Green Tron, 4 Karn, 2 Ugin, an Emrakul, 2 Ulamog, 2 Walking Ballista, a Wormcoil. A World Breaker, 3 Wormcoil. Like boom, 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 boom. This all seems good. I don't have Karns. But the rest of this I maybe only have 1 World or Wormcoil. I don't know. But the rest of this, I don't have Ancient Stirrings. I have 2. The rest of this I'll have. Maybe I don't have Expedition Maps. I'm missing weird stuff. Like I could get Expedition Maps. I could get Ancient Stirrings. But like I couldn't put my hand on 4 Karns right now. That's crazy. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there. The new Living In builds seem like a lot of fun. To me, the ones using the Fate Foretold, like those are the ones that I really like right now as well.
Oh, the mono blue one?
Yeah, what? Are they always mono blue? I don't know if they're mono blue, but
No. The Fate Foretold one is mono blue.
Is it? I watched one. I don't know. I watched one of the MTG Goldfish ones, and I felt like it wasn't mono blue, but yeah, like I like that kind of deck where it's just like these generically good guys that cycle, play a Fate Foretold, play a thing for whatever, and go to town. Like it runs amazingly good cards, like Ancestral Visions, and the Balance. I can't think of what it's called right now, and the Balance, and like those are insane. So I don't know. A lot of potential things. I could never brew in this format, which is to me is what makes the other format stronger for me. Like I want to be able to get my edges not by finding 2 cards that people don't know how to deal with or whatever, but by building a strategy that makes it where like it attacks from an angle they don't understand.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Well, I think that's probably a show, bro. What, you got anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered everything.
Sweet. Let's see. Next week we'll probably have a show like normal, but the week after we'll probably skip for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's going to be super tight for me next week. or sorry, that Christmas week. But I don't know. We'll see if we can work it out. We'll work it out. If not, we'll take that week off and then be back in the new year. So one more show for sure, and then maybe nothing until after the new year. We'll see. We'll keep you posted. We'll have a better idea next week probably for next week's show. As always, samusgrobo.com for various things. Oh, the t-shirts. Hopefully I'll be printing t-shirts on either like Tuesday or Thursday next week. There'll be Samus Garobo t-shirts. And then I've got the artist working on 2 troll t-shirts, which I think will be really fun because Travis's artist never came through for us.
Yeah, that really didn't surprise me.
Didn't surprise me either. You can
He's a good artist. He just, he has like kids and a wife and a job and
Jim. It's getting swole.
Yeah.
The number 2 trollsbrew@gmail.com if you'd like to send us an email, or if you're an artist and would like to help us out on some t-shirt designs, let us know. Of course, twitch.tv/SamusGarobo or twitter.com/SamusGarobo or youtube.com/SamusGarobo. If you'd like to watch this podcast, not only is it an audio podcast, but it is a visual podcast where you can see me in my grungy, like 17-year-old white t-shirt with a weird stain on it. And it's clearly not the right size anymore and all sorts of stuff. But I wear it anyway because I love it. Or you can look at Travis's pretty face, who's currently needs a shave, it looks like.
Yeah.
Or are you growing it out for the winter?
No.
Okay.
I'm just lazy.
Also, you can follow Travis at TurtlePower319 on Twitter. Tweeter. So to wrap up this week, Travis, why don't you tell me why you cut a bunch of people off your Facebook?
Honestly, I was just tired of looking at just random stuff that I didn't care about. And it was easier just to go and delete them rather than go and remove them from my newsfeed. So that was the first one. The second one was people just have really bigoted views. And honestly, I just don't care about people down talking other people just because they're different. So I just, cut them out. And yeah, I cut out 100-something people.
So 2 questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, do you have any fear of becoming sucked down what is it called? Like a feedback tunnel where the only things that you see or hear are things that you already like?
Well, no, because another thing that I want to do is start getting away from Facebook and Twitter and social media and just consume so much time.
That's the opposite of what we want to talk about as entertainers. We want audience participation.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, you guys, yeah, sure, it's great for you, but it just takes up too much of my time, and it's really difficult for me to go to sleep at night because I'm like, ooh, what's this new thing? What's this new thing? And I'm just scrolling on 3 different platforms, maybe 4, and I'm just no, I need to cut a bunch of this out so that way if I see multiple things that I've already seen for the day, I was well, I'm done with that one. And, same with Twitter. It's all right, well, I've seen everything, done with that. Nothing YouTube. So it's just kind of it's a way for me to clear time.
That's fair. It's fair. The other thing is that you mentioned that people have really bigoted views, and especially this last year, right? I've been pointing out people's bigotry about other people's bigotry, and I feel like I've been taking a lot of hits when I do that. I find that to be really aggravating sometimes, especially when people start just projecting that you're calling them names or you're doing things. Like you and I argue about stuff all the time. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that makes our relationship work is that we both respect each other's opinion. Like the other day, you put a thing out there that I, may or may not in my personal life agree or disagree with. But when you put a
Right.
question out there, I went, well, this is why. Like this is the counter argument that you're looking for. This is why. And you and I kind of we went back and forth, but we were polite, and there's no hurt feelings. And I'm pretty sure that there was at least a willingness to understand what the other person was trying to say in the comment. But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen with a lot of people. A lot of people on one side will be like, they'll again, to pull this into politics, like if I'll make a more liberal or libertarian point to a conservative friend, then I'm one of these libtards.
Yeah.
Or if I make a more conservative or again libertarian comment to some of my more libertarian friends or socialist friends, then I'm a repubtard. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter which side that I'm talking from. Either way, I'm an evil, hateful person,
Yep.
right? But have you ever seen me post anything that you would consider hateful?
No. And like that's another thing that I did. Like I went through and I deleted people that were both Republican and conservatives and like not Republicans and Democrats.
Republicans and
Like,
conservatives cut all of them right out of my life. Screw all those
yeah,
guys.
just gone.
See, that's the echo chamber.
No,
That's what I'm
like,
looking for. Echo chamber that I was talking about.
yeah, no. Like, I cut out a bunch of like on both spectrums of it, and because it's like if I argue with this person, then I'm way over there. But if I argue over here, then I'm way over there. I'm just like, no, just meet in the middle here.
No,
That's
and
all I'm
that's
asking. Like,
like a lot of, particularly conservatives right now, are getting this rap, right? Like they have this alt right thing. Like, oh, you disagree with me, you're alt right. It's like,
yeah,
no, I'm a staunch libertarian. Like I'm very center libertarian, but this is my libertarian view. Like I don't want the
hmm
government in charge of this. Oh, you alt right SOB. Like what? Or from the other side, I'll make again this similar comment, and it's like, oh, you Bernie loving socialist SOB. I'm like, well, that's could not be further from the truth.
right,
Like, I don't want government involved in anything that it has to be involved in outside of like these 5 things that it's required to do. And it's like, you can't win for losing. So I don't know. I
right.
saw that you made that cut, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe I'm still on Travis's Facebook. Like
Well,
after all this.
well, yeah, and like the thing with like you and me, it's like you said earlier, argue. We're at
Well,
least civil
I don't necessarily think that we argue. Like we have sometimes we do.
discussions.
Yeah, but we discuss things pretty adamantly, and I love it. Like when you can especially like you and I, because I think we'll cover the opposite side of an argument just because. Like sometimes
Yeah,
you'll be like like let's name something extreme. Like you'll respond to somebody's pro-gay marriage post with an you know what I mean? And then I'll be like, well, hang on, let's not get crazy. This pro-marriage, gay marriage thing is probably pretty cool or whatever. And then like 2 posts down, you'll make, and again, these are not necessarily true, right? I'm just making examples up, but like 2 posts down, you'll respond to somebody's uh, like gay wedding cake, for example, from the total opposite side that you were arguing with before. And then I come in and I'm like, but the businesses should be able to make whatever, you know what I mean? And we'll just like
yeah,
flip flop roles. And some people can do that and not take a problem with it. But then again, I'll see it. I'll see you take flack from both sides, like from like your friends that I see and I've now identified as either like left or right leaning. depending on which view that you're talking about at the time, they're going to shoot at you.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay. But they shoot at
those
you. They don't shoot at your argument.
Yeah, and those are the people that I removed because it's like, to me, and matter to them. It was they're right and I'm wrong, and there's no middle ground that we can agree upon. And I'm just like, something that I want to like be a part of, you know? It's like, if we can't have a civil discussion or we can't come to like certain agreements, then why should I keep you around? Because, you know, all they're going to do is, you know, just completely shut down everything that I say. So F them.
F them or tell them to troll on.
Well, no, it's just like, fuck them, troll on everybody.
Troll on everybody.